Welcome to the Fredrickson Health Show, highlighting expert practitioners from health, fitness, injury prevention, functional medicine, and integrative medicine. If you are into upgrading and optimizing your health, this podcast is for you. This podcast is for educational purposes only and not intended to be used as personalized medical advice. And now, here is your host, Dr. Robert Fredrickson.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Fredrickson Health Show. Episode 22, we have Siim Land from Estonia. I'm going to give you a quick background on this man because he is a walking legend. So Siim is an author, speaker, content creator, renowned biohacker from Estonia. Despite his young age, he's considered one of the top people in the health and optimization community with thousands of followers worldwide. Siim has written books like The Metabolic Autophagy, Stronger by Stress, The Immunity Fix, in addition to the Mineral Fix. Siim, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me, and I'm glad to speak with you.
Yes, so just tell us a little bit of your background, how you got into this world of health and wellness, and what started you on this path, and when did you get started?
Yeah, I started around maybe like after high school. I basically enrolled in the military, where I just was focused mostly on like physical fitness and mental toughness and those kind of things. And after the military, I started to take it more seriously in terms of trying to just optimize my health and performance more thoroughly. And I kind of stumbled upon this idea of biohacking in university when I was like maybe like 20 years old, 19 years old, something like that. And it kind of stuck with me of just wanting to learn more about it because it's interesting. And I also saw like just more results in my everyday life, just better productivity, better well-being, better health, performance is better, etc., etc. So that's why I just decided to start to go deeper with it.
That's awesome. So I know in America, biohacking is kind of on the rise with the popularity, but in Estonia, how did you find out about this stuff? Was there certain people that you were following that influenced you in a certain way?
Well, the internet is still worldwide, so we can find all the information about like American biohackers as well from anywhere. And I think the first kind of people I did hear the idea of biohacking from were probably like Dave Asprey from different interviews. So I started listening to his podcast. Then like Ben Greenfield for sure, and like more all these different kinds of people. Dr. Dominic D'Agostino was the first guy I heard of ketosis about. But they do have some things in common in terms of like just health and optimization.
I love that. And so for your military background, is it a full 4-year term like it is over here? Or is it different in Europe?
No, it's like basically just like a mandatory service, civil service for 8 to 11 months, and you're doing it just to prepare for like the emergency cases, so to say, to prepare the civil people. So I wasn't like a professional in terms of that. So I was like not like an entire term.
Cool. Is it mandatory over there? Or is that voluntary?
It is like mandatory in Estonia at least, like most or like some people can't go or something, but like most men from 18 to 27 is the age gap that you have to kind of go through.
So that's mandatory. If you live in Estonia, you have to go through your 8 to 11 month term.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. That's very cool. Were you born and raised in Estonia?
Yeah. I'm living in this island in the Baltic Sea, and like born here and living here as well. So all my life here almost all the time.
That is awesome. You're my first guest from Estonia, so thank you so much for coming on today. So at what point in, I guess, your life or your career did you decide that you wanted to go full force into health and wellness, into this world of biohacking?
I don't know, like a full force, but I started to first use it as a profession or something like that in my, let's say, second year in college. And when I started my blog, so I started to write about different kinds of things I was doing, like fasting, ketosis, exercising, meditation, different kind of supplements and those things to kind of broadcast it. And from there, it kind of grew into my YouTube channel as well. I wrote a few books on maybe like I became, quote unquote, it became like a living when I wrote a few books on ketosis, and I started to sell them on Amazon. That's when I kind of shifted into doing it as a professional thing. But I actually decided to do it before that. So in the before my third year in college, I was an exchange student in the UK, and I didn't want to get a job during the summertime like usually students do, because I wanted to focus on my blog and focus on my content creation and books and those things. So that's when I decided to go head first, full in with this thing that I'm not gonna go to a job. I'm actually gonna just kind of burn my boats in that essence and try to make a thing out of it.
I love it. So you're an entrepreneur who was very passionate about health and wellness, started writing blogs, started doing books, and then it just kind of turned into this whole, I guess, Sim empire, right? So that's awesome. So as you were, I guess, young and learning different strategies for health and wellness and biohacking, how to make things more efficient, what were some of the first things that you learned that were very helpful? And what were some of the things that you learned or tried that weren't that helpful and you wish that you didn't waste time on those things?
Mm-hmm. The first biohack that I did try was intermittent fasting, I think, because I just heard about it from the context of fitness and weight loss. So it was some people said it was just easy way to lean down and basically get fit, or lose body fat with. I was doing weightlifting and bodybuilding before that already. So always just wanting to optimize my physique and the body composition. So just one strategy that I just decided to do, and it did work pretty well from the start already. I liked it, I enjoyed it, and just stuck with it, so to say. I've done that nonstop for the last 8 years, something like that. That's something I just decided to do. I think some people may find it less appealing, but for me, that's actually one of the my favorite things in terms of biohacking.
Awesome. So what is your intermittent fasting schedule like? When do you have your first meal and when do you have your last meal?
Mm-hmm. Well, nowadays I'm eating only once a day.
Okay.
So I'm eating around 6 p.m. something, 7 p.m. Around there. And before that, I would do 2 meals. So I would eat maybe 11 or 12 for first time, and the second time also around 6, 7 p.m. Around there.
Awesome. So this leads me to a series of questions, because I am fascinated by this, because you are not the typical mold of like Dave Asprey. He wants to live to be 180, but he doesn't have as much muscle mass as you do. And I'm sure when we were growing up in the bodybuilding community, it's all about how we can get 6 meals a day. We got to keep getting protein. But Siim, you seem to have a great way of maintaining and building muscle from what I've seen, while also doing intermittent fasting. Can you talk about some of the strategies that you do to help maintain your muscle mass while only eating, I guess now 1 meal a day, doing more OMAD style?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Well, it is true. If you want to build muscle, then a higher eating frequency would be better, so that you would maybe be better to eat more frequently than once a day. But the studies even then find that there's no benefit beyond 4 meals. So 4 meals would already maximize it. And 3 meals is also fine. 2 meals is fine. I saw gains with that. But with the 1 meal, you're not going to at least you're not going to lose you're not going to lose your muscle as long as you're eating a sufficient amount of protein in that meal. So whether or not you lose muscle or build muscle is determined by this balance between muscle protein synthesis and muscle protein breakdown. And if you're getting enough protein, even if it is from 1 meal, then you're maintaining this positive nitrogen balance and positive protein synthesis. Whereas if you undereat protein, you're in a low protein diet, then the breakdown increases, and then you're going to lose it. So the studies are also finding that even if you eat all your protein in 1 meal, you're not going to at least lose it. So that's why I'm not, I'm not, let's say, my main goal isn't to build that much muscle, so that's why I'm like fine doing the 1 meal a day as well. So I'm not, like it's not my main focus. It's just gonna happen as a byproduct of being young and lifting and training regularly, and also of course eating like a high protein diet. One like a key thing that I do change up is that instead of eating just once a day, I also have like this protein shake during my workout that gives me basically like 2 meals. So it's like fast acting protein from the whey protein, and it does help with this protein synthesis and helps with that. So I'm like, I eat once a day, but I stimulate protein synthesis, twice a day.
Okay, awesome. So your goal right now is just to maintain muscle mass. What is your goal right now for your fitness endeavors?
Well, at the moment, I want to more on. I do like want to kind of hone in on my physique in some sense of maybe fixing some of my shortcomings or something, or maybe like more balanced physique. Although I think it's fine at the moment. I think just more like aesthetic looking physique would be still always something to work on. But my main focus is on like strength and powerlifting type of thing, that I want to increase the main lifts, the bench, squat, and deadlift. Focus on that. So that's what I'm focusing maybe for the coming winter on that. But I do cardio like recreationally. I'm like I don't have like any goals to do cardio so that I could run a marathon or run a really fast mile. I do cardio for the health benefits and just enjoyment.
Yes, that's great. So something I want to touch on is, because I was ingrained in this when I was growing up lifting, is that you can only absorb a certain amount of protein at once, right? I know some of those research studies have been debunked, but I think we used to think it was only like 40 grams of protein per meal, and that's why we had to eat multiple meals to keep that nitrogen balance up. But what is the new research showing that you've read that shows, hey, you can actually acquire a lot more protein than we once thought if your body is ready to take on that protein? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, your body would let's say absorb all of the protein that you ate, so it's not going to waste it. It's just going to slow down the digestion, and like if you're not absorbing, then you would like basically excrete all the rest, anything above the 40 grams you would just excrete out, which doesn't happen, which then means that your body still absorbs it. It's just does it maybe like over a slower time, and it happens later. The idea behind eating this several times a day and that you can only absorb 40 grams, 30 grams per meal is that it takes, or the threshold for maximizing protein synthesis from one meal is around 30 to 40 grams. So if you're eating 50 grams, then you're not going to see additional increase in muscle protein synthesis. So it caps out at this 30 to 40 gram mark. 30 is probably more accurate for that. So that's why eating it more spread out would help you to spike the protein synthesis again. And every time you spike the protein synthesis, then you're promoting muscle anabolism and muscle growth. So if you're like really trying to build muscle really fast and a whole lot of mass, then maybe eating more frequently would help with that. But like you can still eat, as much protein per meal as is your daily goal. It's just going to happen at a different rate.
That's awesome. I appreciate that info. Do you have a certain, grams of protein that per body weight that you like to accomplish? Say for instance, one person might say you need to get 1 gram of protein per body weight. So another person might say it might be 0.6, might be 0.8. What is your recommendation for someone who's maybe trying to build muscle or maintain muscle? Yeah,
well, the research has found pretty like established now that the maximum amount that you can optimize is like 0.8 grams per pound of lean body mass, and that's, you're not going to see like any additional benefits beyond that. So like 0.8 to 1.0 grams is somewhere like where most say fitness and bodybuilders would aim for, and that will like maximize the muscle building effects from that. In some studies where they eat more, like 1.2 and 2 grams of protein per body weight, then you don't see additional muscle growth, but they do see additional fat loss from that, or a bit like leanness, because basically like the extra protein just gets wasted away, or like not wasted away, but your body just burns that many more calories for digesting protein. So if you're eating 2.0 grams per pound of body weight as protein, and you're still at a moderate calorie intake, then most of those calories from the protein are going to be wasted away for energy production or heat. So yeah, compared to something, compared if those calories came from fats or carbs, then that the burn-off effect would be much lower.
Yeah, and I guess if you're eating that much protein, you don't have enough. You probably don't have enough more calories left in the day to eat a lot of fat. So you're actually eating less calories throughout the day, effectively losing weight. But yeah, so that's good to know, because we used to think that you need to eat a lot more protein than what you did, than what you just said to gain muscle. So if you are 200 pounds, all you need is 160 grams of protein based on that 0.8, right? So that's awesome. So I know you're big into fasting for health reasons. Can you talk about those health reasons like autophagy, the importance of autophagy, and why you think more people should realize the importance of this cellular repair process that we need to optimize in our daily lives?
Yeah, the autophagy translates into self-eating, and it's this process where your cells are recycling themselves from different kinds of debris, old material, broken mitochondria, waste, and zombie cells, and just junk. And in the process, the healthy cells, their functioning improves. They have less inflammation. You experience less inflammation, better just health as a result of that. It does have like some anti-aging effects in supposedly, and it's just that with fasting, it's not the only way to activate autophagy. That's kind of one misconception, that you need to fast to have these effects. There's exercise does it as well, the sauna, different kinds of nutrients, compounds, they have this effect. But yeah, autophagy is just this beneficial, like a cleaning house process.
Right. And we go through autophagy every day. When we go to bed, we're going to go through some degree of autophagy. But when you're trying to do more intermittent fasting or using things like the sauna, you're actually inducing more of that. And so I know that when you are going through more of autophagy, you're having less mTOR, right? And that's kind of part of what you do. It's part of your cycle. But you also manage mTOR very well, because you are able to maintain muscle and also be able to only eat one meal a day, which is pretty unique for a lot of people. So I want to switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about the books that you've wrote. One was your first book. Was that the metabolic stronger by stress, or was that the immunity fix? Which one was your first one?
Right. Well, actually, the first one I wrote was in the second year of college. So
wow.
Right. Yeah. So that's actually, I'm not it's not on sale at the moment. It wasn't like a health book, or it was more like a personal development book, and it was just this collection of different principles of how do you improve yourself both physically and mentally, how to achieve self-mastery, and that kind of things. So it's not on sale at the moment, because I would maybe just want to update the information there. But yeah, that was the first one that I wrote in my second year in college. During between the second and third year, during the summer, that's where I wrote a few other let's say keto books on how to do keto bodybuilding, keto fasting, and different kinds of these variations of the keto, like targeted keto, cyclical keto, and that sort of thing. So those were maybe 3 or 4 of them, 4 or 5, something like that. And the first kind of a bigger, the one that I'm known for the most at the moment is the metabolic autophagy book, which I wrote in 2019. And then I wrote the Stronger by Stress in last year, summer 2020, with Dr. James Antonio. I wrote the Immunity Fix in fall 2020, so last year, and the Mineral Fix came out in late February or early March this year.
Wow. So let us know how long it takes to write a book, and how much free time did you have during this process, and how did you eliminate distractions? Because I know book writing is definitely a big task.
Right. Well, usually I've written, the Stronger by Stress book I wrote maybe in 2.5 months.
No way.
The Immunity Fix I wrote with James also maybe in again maybe 2 months or so. And the mineral fix took a bit more, maybe like 3 months, and the metabolic autophagy book also took maybe 2.5 months or 2 months, something like that.
That's incredible. I mean, you usually hear about people taking years and years to write these books, but since you're so, I guess, knowledgeable in the subject matter, you're able to crank out these books so fast. What is that process like? How many hours a day does that take?
Right.
It's so interesting.
Yeah, well, if I am, deciding to write a book, then it becomes like my main thing that I do. So I am, focusing on that most of the day, and I am like kind of, this different kind of environment, so to say, that I am not, surrounded by distractions. So I do write on average or per day. Like I have like several sessions. I'll write maybe 4 hours in the morning until noontime. I'll take a small break, and I'll write again maybe like 2 to 3 hours in the afternoon. So per day, I'll write maybe 7 to 8 hours if I am like in this book writing mode. During the process, I am just not distracted by other things, and I do like, it's not all the information is not in my head immediately, but I do have like at least like a background understanding of what I'm going to write. And during the writing, I'll still do my research actively, almost, that I look up the things that I don't know. And in the actively during the writing process itself, I'm actually also learning almost.
Yes. Yeah. So that's how you write those books so fast, because you're spending 8 hours a day doing it. Right. So that's why. How do you stay focused? Is there any certain supplements that you take, or practices like meditation that you do? Because writing a book and sitting still and researching for 4 hours at a time, that's a lot of concentration. What are some of your strategies that you use to do that?
Well, in the past, I would mostly do like meditation. That helps for sure with concentration and self-control and awareness. At the moment, I'm not doing that, at least not in the morning. I don't take like any supplements for nootropics. I don't drink like coffee in the morning either. So in the morning, not until like noontime when I'm taking a break. I'll drink some coffee. Like in the first half of the morning, I'm not. So I'll just wake up and start writing. And I think focus is just like a skill, like any other. It's a learnable skill. You can build it, and you build it almost like with every decision, every moment of the day. You are building, some sort of pathways in the brain. And if you're teaching yourself to be distracted and let your mind wander or get not focused, then that's how your brain is going to build itself, because it thinks that it's how it's supposed to be. Whereas if you do the opposite, by this time, I think I've just, built these deep neural pathways in my brain that focus is just like a habit and very easy to do. And I do like, remember back in college when I did start to write that, it was a bit more difficult at that time initially, but I just, I've always been able to like grind through these kinds of barriers, so to say. So even if it feels like uncomfortable, or if it feels that I want to stop and do something else, then I've just always push through. And that's how like these pathways get built faster, and they stay stronger.
That's a great tip. The brain is a muscle, just like anything else. If you train it to do a certain thing, you can eventually accomplish that task. And so if you are constantly being distracted, looking at social media every 10 minutes, you're not going to be able to write a book in 2.5 months, right? So That's a great tip for anyone listening today. So let's talk more in depth about one of my current favorite books right now is The Mineral Fix with you and Dr. James. How did you and Dr. James first meet? What was that introduction meeting like? And how did you guys decide to partner up to write the Immunity Fix and the Mineral Fix together?
I heard about Dr. James a few years ago. He had written like the Salt Fix, which is also a great book, and heard about like different podcasts about him. He had written a book with Dr. James, not Dr. Jason Fung, which was the Longevity Solution. And I invited him on my podcast to talk about that book. After that, he actually, he saw that I had written also the Metabolic Autophagy book. So I sent him a copy. He read it. He liked it. A year later, in 2020, this 2020 spring somewhere, I invited him back to my podcast to talk about salt this time. And after that podcast, he basically like proposed that, hey, I have like all these different book ideas. People have been wanting for me to write a book about minerals. Would you like to do it together? And I said, yeah, let's do it. And the book for 2020 was going to be the immunity fix because of reasons. And that's where we started to kind of co-author together.
Yeah. So this is the book right here, The Mineral Fix, guys, for anyone who can see this. This is I don't even know if you consider it a book. It's more like an encyclopedia for minerals. I mean, this book has how many different references? 1,400 different references. This thing is intense.
4,000.
Right?
4,000.
4,000?
Yeah.
Wow. And how did you guys, I don't know how the book writing process is, especially when you partner with someone. How did you guys say, hey, I'm going to write on magnesium, you're going to write on zinc? How did you guys split up the different topics in the book? Or did you guys kind of co-write together and meet every week to decide on that?
James has like a lot of research that he's already done, different papers on different topics, and he has like some like outlines. Some of the chapters are basically with some information that he's written before that. He sends them to me. I put them together more coherently, so to say. I do additional research, fill in the gaps, make it look like a chapter, and I'll send it back to him. He does the edits. He sends it back to me. I do the edits again, back and forth a little bit, and that's the birth of one chapter. And then we do it with all the other chapters, and then there's gonna finally we'll put it together in the book.
That's awesome. And I've read a ton of studies from Dr. James on PubMed. He's got a ton of his own research articles for sure. And so, but of course, like you said, they're very, very scientific. If you're just a layperson, it's going to be kind of hard to understand. So what you guys have done with the Mineral Fix is incredible. And I encourage anyone listening to this podcast today to check out the Mineral Fix, check out the Immunity Fix, and of course, any other books written by Siim. So Siim, let's talk about minerals. Let's talk about mineral optimization. Why are we so deficient in minerals, and why is mineral deficiency not talked about as much as it should be today?
Yeah, well, I think is not talked that much about because a lot of people can hit like these let's say bare adequate intakes, minimal intakes with their diet, but usually it's not like enough to be optimized, and it's sometimes not enough to treat certain medical conditions. So like, for example, the adequate intake for magnesium is like 140 milligrams, but the optimal intake for that can be around 400, 500, 600 for some people, or even like 800. So yeah, like there's a huge difference between what's bare minimum and what's fully optimal. And most people just, aren't, at least like doctors or nutritionists, may underappreciate the important role of minerals. Like they almost like they're just these keys to all the processes inside the body, like energy production, neurotransmitter production, digestion, and inflammation, antioxidant defense. All those require minerals to work. And yeah, just people don't really appreciate the effects of that. Why are like people deficient? Well, that has to do, of course, like a poor diet, not eating enough nutritious foods, but also the general decline in the minerals in soil. So things like erosion, pesticides, herbicides, food processing, heating, those things, they destroy the minerals. So this combination of many factors. And of course, many like some these medical conditions like diabetes, insulin resistance, gut issues, leaky gut, SIBO, IBD, IBS, they also reduce the absorption of the minerals. Like insulin resistance may prevent the entry of minerals into the cells, whereas diabetes may make you burn through certain minerals, and leaky gut or gut issues also not make you absorb the minerals.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even realize that. So another thing is, I think testing, for example, magnesium it's not on most standard lab panels, even though it's an electrolyte. People still don't test for it. And even if they do, and I know you guys have talked about this in your book, the serum magnesium test is not a good marker. It's very inaccurate. And so you might be normal, quote unquote, normal on that lab test, but still not feel normal, still not be in the optimal range versus a magnesium load test, which is actually going to measure the amount of magnesium that's actually held on or excreted based on the levels that you have in your body. So, and I think that's what people don't realize. A lot of doctors don't realize that. So you might go to the conventional doctor, say, hey, I don't feel good. He might run some lab work, but everything looks normal, right? But it's not normal to not feel good, right? So I think that's a key issue there. Magnesium is probably one of the things I talk about the most, but in y'all's book, you actually say boron is one of the most depleted minerals in today's diet. Can you talk about boron a little bit and why there's nothing boring about boron?
Yeah. Well, boron, it is like found in these like plant cell walls. So, and most people don't really eat like those kinds of foods. And boron is important for the bones. It's important for testosterone. It's important for inflammation, preventing arthritis, as well as vitamin D. So it helps to utilize vitamin E better. So yeah, boron is not boring. It's important. And there's no like clear RDA for boron. It's the world or most countries don't have an RDA for boron because it's not considered like an absolute essential mineral, although it is, governs some essential functions. And boron deficiency itself can be, quite bad. The optimal intake, like the World Health Organization may suggest that 1 milligrams a day is good enough. And most people are getting around there, like maybe 0.8 grams per day. But optimally, you would want to get like 3 milligrams.
Yeah, and I have personal experience with boron. I was reading testosterone studies on boron and magnesium and how they interact together, and also vitamin D. And I did of course 3 months of boron, just 6 milligrams daily, and it raised my total testosterone by 100 points. I know it's anecdotal. My free testosterone also bumped up, I think, by 25 points. So pretty substantial just from a natural mineral, right? So other minerals that you'd like to talk about besides magnesium, we could talk about magnesium probably this whole podcast, but anything else that you'd like to supplement, maybe you think more people should look at either getting from their diet, and if they're not getting from the diet, getting from supplements?
Yeah, well, one of the interesting ones that we talked about was chromium. So chromium is important for glucose disposal and insulin production. So it's chromium supplementation has been found to be effective for diabetes type 2 and insulin resistance. The problem with the chromium is that it's very low in the absorption. So only like 1% of the chromium that you get from diet gets absorbed. So that's why you may need actually like a whole lot more chromium than you think you need. And you also excrete chromium through the sweat. So if you are doing sauna, exercising regularly, then chances are, or athletes at least, they would be pretty lower in the chromium because of sweating it out and not getting that much from their foods. So on some days, I do take like a chromium bicolinate, 1,000 micrograms, or at least on the days that I maybe eat carbs to help with the insulin production. But yeah, like if you have like diabetes or insulin resistance, then like short-term chromium supplementation can also be quite effective and quite good.
Yes, and I've read somewhere that there's actually 4 receptors on insulin that are all chromium dependent. So you have to have chromium. If you're deficient in chromium, insulin receptor sensitivity is not going to work as well. And if you're insulin resistant, you're not going to absorb other minerals like magnesium and other essential minerals as well. So that's a huge, huge deal. Where do you get chromium in foods, Siim? That's always a question I get, is where do you get these minerals from food, and why do we not get enough?
Yeah, the highest source is mussels. So seafood, like oysters, can also have it, and broccoli and oatmeal are like the plant-based sources, but they're like almost like 10 times smaller in the amounts than mussels.
Yeah, and so let's talk about some of those things that deplete or compete for mineral absorption, like oxalic acid, phytic acid, tannins. What are your thoughts on those? And so it's because you tell someone to eat a lot of spinach because it's rich in magnesium, but then you realize it's got a lot of oxalic acid as well. So you actually don't get as much magnesium as you once thought. So what are your thoughts on foods that contain that, and how do you mitigate getting around that?
Yeah. yeah, the plant-based sources are generally lower in the absorption of minerals because of the phytonutrients and the fiber. General, like I don't think that even if it is like maybe 20% reduction in the absorption of the minerals, it's not going to be like zero. So you're still getting some of them. You just have to be eating maybe a bit more, and yeah, you can still get your minerals from plant-based foods as well. You just have to maybe be careful with more of the food choices, and yeah, it's yeah, like you're not really never gonna be zero. And on a Western diet, if you're eating, let's say, a good healthy diet, a whole foods based diet, then the vast quantity of foods themselves will cover your at least like the majority of the minerals in the RDAs required. So you may be deficient in some, like maybe chromium or magnesium or boron, but you can still get most of them if you're eating like a decent diet, because it's just the sheer amount of calories that you're obtaining. And even if you are reducing that absorption by 20% or maybe, I don't know, 25% at maximum, then it's never going to be zero. Yeah, in some cases, whenever it's possible, it's good to reduce the amount of those these anti-nutrients. You can reduce the absorption of oxalate by increasing calcium intake, or lemon juice does it as well. So if you're eating spinach, combine it with some like cheese or sardines or lemon juice, vinegar, those kinds of things will help that. Tannins or phytic acid, those things, you can like sprout certain grains and seeds, and that will also reduce the content of that. Coffee does like chelate some minerals, but in some cases that can actually be a good thing, because like excess iron like increases liver damage, heart disease promotes that, causes other problems, increases aging. So like excess iron, if you're eating, let's say, only like a muscle meat diet or eating like a bunch of refined grains, then combining that with coffee can actually be a good thing, because you're lowering your iron. And high iron may also you need iron for like preventing anemia and oxygenation of the tissues and hemoglobin, but you also need copper for that. So copper actually activates all these, or it helps to transport iron around and also helps to absorb iron. So you need copper from liver. So so yeah, it's like a complex thing. Like some of the coffee, for example, can be good to mitigate the excess iron and help with actually like symptoms of anemia.
Yeah, that's a good tip for sure. And I like what you said about, even though the oxalic acid is going to reduce some of the absorption, don't never eat that food, because it's, you're still going to get some of the magnesium, you're still going to get some of the minerals, the vitamins, right? So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You're still going to get some of those nutrients when you ingest those. Is there anything you've learned about minerals, maybe in the book writing process, that you wish you would have known sooner?
Well, I did learn quite a lot. Actually, I didn't have like that good of a grasp about minerals before that. And yeah, it was a really awesome writing process, because I learned every chapter was something new. And yeah, it's hard to tell which one was the biggest eye opener. Maybe I did start to appreciate more like the calcium role, so to say. Like I did start to consume more calcium foods, like a bit of more dairy and like sardines and fish bones to get the calcium. Because yeah, like if you're eating, because like one of the biggest only sources of calcium are like dairy and fish bones or some those kinds of things. And I didn't have like, I stopped consuming dairy on a regular basis a few years ago, but I start to like reintroduce it a little bit now, just to get more calcium and to prevent like osteoporosis or bone frailty later in life. I do have like some bad genetics for osteoporosis, so it's just like a precautionary measure.
Yeah, that's great. I love that tip. Have you ever tested your mineral intake on a blood test or or RBC or hair test? Do you have any thoughts on mineral testing or vitamin testing in that regard?
Yeah, well, not recently. I haven't taken that. Usually, I think, well, it depends. Some minerals are better if you have like a red blood cell test. Red blood cell count for the magnesium is, at least like in the book, we say that's the best one. With the hair test, generally the hair tests are better, because it's longer, like a time frame that tells you instead of just the snapshot that you get from a blood test. So yeah, depends on the kind of the mineral.
Yeah, great. Yeah, RBC magnesium is one of the tests I always advise people to get. And you can get it. You can ask your doctor to get it. It costs a little bit more than a serum test, but I think it's going to be a better indicator of your saturation of magnesium into your cells. But I've never done a hair mineral test, and I'm still looking up how clinical reliable they are. And do you have any thoughts on the hair mineral test and the clinical effectiveness, the reliability for actually giving you a true predictor of mineral deficiency? Any thoughts?
I think in the book we did say that it can be good, but it's not like 100% accurate.
Right.
So so I think you have to kind of use different tests to see, like, because if you don't have like any symptoms, then the test can still lie. So
Right.
you have to combine it with several things.
Yes. Okay, so let's ask you a few, I guess, personal questions about your supplement routine. What supplements do you take currently? And I'm not telling anyone to take the same supplements as you, but based on your goals, your fitness endeavors, what supplements do you take and why?
Mm-hmm. I take quite a different kinds of supplements. One that I do take on a daily basis right now are niacin, vitamin B3. I take CoQ10. I take resveratrol, creatine, glycine, trimethylglycine, and perhaps also essential amino acids on some with a protein shake that I take. And I don't know, maybe that's it that comes to mind at the moment.
So you're taking more of a kind of seems like a longevity supplement stack, right? So. And I know you post a lot about nicotinamide, riboside, niacin, B3, the importance of that as we get older, we start losing it. It's part of the anti-aging movement. I've seen you post about magnesium too. I think you took a 7-form different magnesium product at one time before as well. Awesome. What are your thoughts on vitamin D? Do you take vitamin D, or do you try to get your vitamin D from the sun?
Not during the summer. At the moment, I haven't been taking the vitamin D, but during the winter, yeah, for sure. Like I take at least like 2,000 to 4,000 I use during the winter months. But the summertime, I've been mostly trying to get more outside.
Great. And how many times do you work out per week or per day? What is your current? I know you're doing a lot more of a bodybuilding or powerlifting split, but still, do you work out 5 times a week, 7 times, multiple times per day?
Right. I work out almost every day. I have I cycle between like resistance training workouts and cardio. So I'll do resistance training maybe 3 to 4 times a week, and cardio twice a week, and maybe like one day I'll do a rest day.
Perfect. Okay. So this podcast has been super information packed, and we've learned a ton about the man, the myth, the legend, Siim, today from Estonia. Siim, if you're on a desert island and you can only pick one health-related device, this could be a supplement or any gadgets that you found super beneficial, what would you bring with you on that island, and why?
That's a good question. Well, you wouldn't need like a vitamin D supplement there.
Right.
You wouldn't need like a red light device. You wouldn't need like a gym equipment. You wouldn't need like a bunch of supplements. Well, depends on where the island is located at. If it's like a tropical island, then I don't know, maybe hard to tell. Yeah, maybe like either like well, at least like my favorite supplements are like either glycine or magnesium. So just like either one of those. And I think it's hard to get like magnesium from like an island as well.
Yeah, that's always whenever I get asked a question, it's always magnesium, and magnesium probably glycinate because of the absorption. So yeah, we're right there. Yeah, now I do the same thing. I'm like, okay, so you're getting vitamin D from the sun. You're probably going to be able to get fresh fish, so the omega-3 is going to be good. And I go through, maybe you'll get some fresh coconuts too for some healthy fats, right? So that's awesome. Right. So if you could put a billboard up in the busiest highway, either in Europe or in America, with 1 to 2 sentences of anything health or motivation or something positive related, what would you say and why?
I think, I would say something related to like, being more kind to others, and not having like this perspective of trying to put yourself into the shoes of other people. So like if you're in a traffic jam, then maybe that someone else has to go to the hospital or something. So etc. Trying to have like a bigger perspective on things, and trying to like be more understanding.
Yes, having more compassion. That's great. We need that more than ever during this crazy time.
Yeah.
Siim, what does the future for you look like? What are some of your career endeavors? What are some of your health endeavors? Any other new books on the horizon?
Well, we are with James. We are writing a new book as well. And yeah, I have like I'm definitely going to publish more books in the future. But also been working on like a documentary about stress called Stronger by Stress. So it's about biohacking and health. And I don't know, like I don't have like any, like, I don't plan ahead in terms of like 5 years, but I do plan ahead in like, I don't know, 20 years or 50 years.
That's awesome. So documentary on the rise, new books for people to look forward to. Siim, this has been an awesome session with you today. For anyone listening who wants to learn more about you and where to find your books, where can they do that at?
Yeah, well, my website is siimland.com, and all the books are on Amazon, and I'm also Siim Land on the social media platforms.
Awesome. Siim, this has been such a fun talk, and I look forward to maybe doing this with you in the future. Hope you have a great day, and thank you again for coming on today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Fredrickson Health Show. This podcast is for educational purposes only and not intended to be used as personalized medical advice. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss a single episode. While you're at it, leave us a rating and review. Follow us on social media and subscribe to our email newsletter for more information.